A new car was purchased for $25,000 on this particular date. Please highlight this portion. That is your initial amount. We always have to identify what is the initial. So T equals 0 is on this specific date. 8 years later, we have a value for a car. Now, part A of number 6 is similar to part A of number 5. We're going to highlight create a linear model. So the first thing I'm going to do is just like I did for the previous one, please make yourself this T chart, but we're going to have 3 different areas. We're going to have a T amount, we're going to have a date, and we're going to have a value of your car. So our initial amount, when T is the initial amount, was on January 1st, 1998, and the value was $25,000. When you create that ordered pair, as a reminder, it's always T followed by whatever your Y value is. So in this case, it's going to be the value of the car. So 0 is associated with $25,000. 8 years later, so when T is 8, we're at $10,000. So at 8, we are at $10,000. Part A wants us to find that linear equation, y equals mx plus b. So I'm going to start by identifying what is the m. So m equals y sub 2 minus y sub 1 over x sub 2 minus x sub 1. Now what's different about this problem compared to number 5 is we only have 2 ordered pairs here. So x sub 1, y sub 1, x sub 2, y sub 2. And as I plug those in, my suggestion always is to put those parentheses in. I always get 20 to 30% of the people that understand it, but they make a simple error in their math due to positives and negatives. So here we go. My y sub 2 is going to be 10,000 minus 25,000 over 8 subtract 0. Grab your calculator. We can see 10,000 minus 25,000. If you're not comfortable, use your calculator, is negative 15,000 over 8. You don't need to stress yourself out here. What does this mean? Just so you understand the context of the problem. This means between 0 to 8 years. So the first 8 years of this car, on average, the value decreased by $1,875 per year. That's what that means, just so you understand. Okay, y equals mx plus b. There's no wrong answer to this. Rosie, do you think it's easier to use the first order pair or the second? There's no wrong answer. I like the first one because it has a 0. Anytime you have a 0 as one of those, I definitely choose to select that ordered pair. So your x is 0 for this problem, and your y is 25,000. And we can see 0 times negative 1875 is 0, so my b is 25,000. So here's the equation that we are looking for part A. This is the equation. Now, how can we use that to answer the next 3 parts? So I'm going to jump back to this, and it says, grabbing your highlighter, please, what was the value of the car? What was the value? So is the value our x or our y? Is the value x or y? Y. So I want to know what is the value of the car, and then I'm going to come over here, January 1st, 2003. Okay, hold on. January 1st, 2003. How do I identify the T? Well, we can see it's exactly January 1st. That makes life easy, and it's gone 5 years past that. I want to know what is the value when T is 5. What do? I take this equation, and for the x value, I'm substituting in 5. So I'm showing my work like this, exactly what I'm showing, and that's expected for you, and then I'm grabbing my calculator and doing the rest here. If you only put in your final answer and I don't know how it was achieved, you do not receive credit. So we can assume 5 years after the initial new car was purchased, it would be worth $15,625. If we go on to part C, what was the value? Again, we have another value question that we are desiring to answer. So y equals, and now we have a date of February 1st, 2001. So I come up here. February is the second month, so it's February 1st, 2001. What's a little more complicated about this question is that it's not going from January to January, it's going from January to February. On your review and on your test, you will not have to come up with how many days have passed. It will tell that to you. Does everybody see this? That's 32 days into the year. So up here, from 1998, when T is 0, to 2001 is a difference of how many years? 3. Uh-oh, we got this remainder. How many extra days are there? 32. Now here's the tough part. What is the denominator of this leftover portion? Yeah. Why is it 365? Because it's part of this year. So I'm going back to this equation right now, and I'm just going to be lazy for you. I would type this in to my calculator, but I also need to write it down on my paper to show. So I'm taking right now 3 plus 32 divided by 365, and what I receive for an answer is going to go right here. Okay, so can somebody verify, do you have the same as me? Do you have about 3.08? Anybody else? Okay. I'm going to leave this on my calculator to try not to round and then round again. So I'm going to leave this. I'm going to take it times negative 1875, and I'll add 25,000 to it. So on February 1st, 2001, we can assume this would be the value of the car. Let's go down right now to our last part. Here's the difference between Part B and Part C, and finally Part D. Please underline when. When is in terms of time, and time is always which one? Time is always the X value. So when it's worthless means when it doesn't have any value. So this is when Y is equal to 0. When Y is equal to 0, they're saying what's going to happen. So I'm going to come back up here. Remember, this is our general equation, but when Y equals 0, so 0 is going to replace the Y. And now you're showing me algebraically how to do this. So you're showing me the steps, but you can absolutely use a calculator to do the basic operations. So I'm dividing by negative 1875, and then I'm letting the calculator give me my answer. And I think this question could have been a little more specific, so I'll tell you what I would accept for an answer. So negative 25,000 divided by negative 1875. Okay, so here's where I think this question could have been a little more specific. Does it say in which year? Does it say that, guys? But if it said in what year, we're going to talk about that. So I would accept 13.3 years after initially being purchased. You have to be specific, because 13.3 years after what? You have to say when. So 13.3 years after being purchased, or when was this car new? Look at the problem. When was this car new? 1998. Or you could take this amount, add it to 1998, and you could say, in the year 2011, the car became worthless. I would accept either one of those answers if this was the exact question. Now, if it said in what year, I would need this answer. If it wasn't specific, I'd accept either one.